All right. Good day and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my channel. We want to complete the task we started last time on Shell Basic Bash programming. But before then, let me just point this clear. This channel is meant to guide you in explaining the concepts and how to manipulate and use the proper commands to solve problems. But rather, we're not here to provide solutions to ALX questions. So do well to try and read your resources and then follow this guide to help you best in your journey. Okay, having said that, let's kick started. You asked to create a script that creates a directory name, my first directory, in the temp directory. Now, there are two things there. First is a temporary directory, which is in existence. And you're supposed to create a directory called my first directory into the temporary directory. So that's quite very simple. Let's launch our sandbox so we can do that quickly. Okay, first of all, you need to cd into your directory. In my case, I use training and then slash ALX system devop and then your 0x00 shell basics. Okay, now you're asked to create a directory by name, my first directory in the temp directory. That's very simple. We know how to do that. The simple command to do that is to type mkdir slash tmp slash, let's look at the spelling, my first directory. I can simply copy this and then I will paste it right here, enter. That's created the directory for me. So since I have the command, I can now simply emacs into the file name 6 directory. You paste it here, enter, then add bin bash. Then the command we created was mkdir into the temp folder. Then you're supposed to put this inside there. Okay, enter. Then we can save, git add, git commit, and git push. I don't want to do that for now. Sure, you can do that yourself. All right, we're done with that very task. The next one here says Betty in my first directory. The question says move the file Betty from the temp directory to temp my first directory. That's quite simple. Let's hit straight to Emacs and then copy the file name 7 move this bin bash. Now the code to do this, I'm sure you can try that yourself. To move Betty. Now look at this. You are asked to move Betty from TMP. That means that Betty is a file that is present in the TMP directory. Okay, so that means I'm not going to write just Betty, but I'm going to copy Betty from the folder called TMP slash Betty. Okay, we are moving that into the folder called my first directory. So I can copy this and then I'll simply paste that here, enter. We can save that. Git push, git commit, git add. We're done with that. Now the next one here is bye bye Betty. That means delete the file Betty from your temporary my first directory. Okay, so to do that is quite simple. We emacs again, then the file name here is 8 first delete. So I'll copy this and then I'll paste it right here, enter. Okay, to remove that file, we simply write remove Betty from the tmp/tmp/. Let's simply copy this and paste to avoid taking much time. Okay, so let me remove this and then paste it right here. Enter, then we can save here and exit. So the next one here, we're asked to delete the directory called my first directory from the temp directory. I'm sure you know how to do that. Simply rmdir. So we go to our terminal and then create the file name emacs9 first directory. Let's just copy the paste. You'll simply copy this and then paste it right here. Then we type our shebang, and then we have our remove directory /tmp. Let's just copy that and paste to avoid taking much time. We'll get this tmp slash. You can paste that here. Enter. You can save and exit. That's done. All right. Now I'm gonna take time to explain from the 10th task because it looks more technical. Okay. All right. Now here they're asking you to write a script that changes the working directory to the previous one. Okay. Now, like I explained in the previous videos, you can actually try to test your commands right here before even writing it into the bash program. Let's clear this first. Now, you are asked to go back to the present or to the previous directory. Normally, we can use cd dot dot, all right, to go back to the previous directory. But is that the correct answer? No, it's not the correct answer. But why is it not correct? Now, the period we use is an associate to a particular command line. For instance, if we say ls and then dot, enter, this simply means that we should list the content of the current working directory. Okay? But if I say ls and then dot dot, it means list the content of the parent directory of the current working directory. I don't even understand what I'm saying, or you understand that? Now let's enter. We can see that we have the parent content of our working directory. So the dot is not actually, or the dot dot is not actually the right command to go back to our working directory. Okay? I take that again. The dot dot is not actually the right command to go back to our parent working directory. But the right command is the hyphen sign. Let me explain that further. Let's go back to our shell navigation. We are back here. Now, if I type cd and then hyphen, enter. Now, that is taking us back. You can see it is written here, training C12 ALX System Engineering DevOps. Now, it has actually shown us that I'm going back to the what parent directory. But if I should do cd and then dot dot, it's just taking me back, but it's not giving me the description that I'm going back. So that's a different thing. Okay. Now let's go back to where we were. Cd LX System Engineering DevOps /0x01 base shell basic. Okay. Now, what if I use cd dot dot? It will take me back, fine. Now, what if I use cd dot and then enter? It's printing the present it's printing the current working directory. Now, if I use pwd, you can see we still have the current working directory. Okay. Now, what's the difference? The difference here is that your pwd means print working directory. It's going to print the current working directory for you. When you use cd and then the hyphen, it's going to print your parent working directory. All right. But when you use dot dot, it is just to enhance functionality regarding the command that was used. You cannot say lspwd. You can't, because the pwd cannot be associated with the ls. But if you say ls and then the dot, it will definitely print. Why? Because the dot can be associated with any command at all. So hence, when you go to ALX question, they say here that you should print or should go back to the previous, that's your parent working directory. Do not use dot dot because it's not the right command. So what's the right command? Is cd space and then hyphen. Now you've gotten your command. So you can simply open your shell navigation, your Emacs, and then write the code inside. So let's quickly do that. Emacs, and then let's get the file name right here. That's 10 and back. Okay. Then our shebang, then our cd, and then hyphen. Enter. All right, we are done with that very task. Now the next one here is lists. Okay. Now one thing I want you to really understand is this. If you take note of ALX, sometimes, not all the times. Now the header file or the name of a particular task reflects the command you will use. Now, when you talk about list, of course, we know it's ls, all right? So that should come to the back of your mind that this task will have something to do with ls. Then we now read the question. The question says, write a script that lists all files, okay? List. So I'll simply come here, let me clear the screen for now. How do I list all file? ls. I've gotten the answer for that one. Let's look at the next line. Even ones with names beginning with a period character, which are normally hidden. If you can recall, we'll deal with how to print hidden files. So in here, forget about the long story. You're just asked to print the hidden files, and that is what? -a, which was a flag. So I now know that the next thing I'll need is what? -a. Let's go back to the question. After that, the question now is in the current directory and the parent of the working directory and the boot directory. Those are three directories that you need to list. So how do we print the current directory? It's simply the dot, which I've explained that in the previous video. Then the next one is your parent working directory. And I told you it's simply the dot dot. So we have dot dot. All right. Now, the next thing here is and the boot directory. So we need to have our boot directory that's /boot. All right. And after that, that's telling you that you should print in this order the long format. So what's the long format? It's simply the -L flag, which you've learned in previous videos. So -L. See, that's how to segment the question into an understandable form. So if you hit enter key, now you can see that you've been able to print those three segments: your parents directory, your current working directory, and your boot directory. We've gotten the file, we've gotten what we wanted. Okay, the next thing here is for you to open your Emacs with the file name and then write the code inside. But now notice one thing which I'm going to explain right now. Now let's clear the screen. Now let me just go back to the command. All right. Since we have two flags here, we have the -a and the -l. Those are two flags. The flags can be combined together. All right. How do you combine that? It's simply to remove this -l and then add the l to the a. So we'll have something like this: LA or AL is the same thing. Now, if I hit enter, it's still going to print the same thing for me. So you can choose to use this method. You can choose to use the other method. Anyone that you feel it's better for you will give you the result. All right. So having known the command, we can now go to Emacs and then the file name, then the shebang, and then the command. Then we have ls minus la, the dots and the dot dots, and then slash boot. All right. Enter. You save that. You can clear the screen. We're done with that very task. Okay. Now we come to the next one. Now, write a script that prints the type of the file named I am a file. The file I am a file will be in the temporary directory when we run your script. Now, look at this. The title here says what? File type. Okay? Now, if you go up here to your requirements, you will notice that you were asked to find out how to use these commands, and then file was inside. But let's assume we don't know how to use file because all this while we've not been using file to write any code. So let's see how this file can be utilized. Now we go into our terminal and then type file hyphen hyphen help. Now this will give you the details, documentaries of what file and how file can be used. And then we look at this, we have determine type of files. That's the explanation how to use files. And then we have different flags depending on how you want to print and what you want the file to do for you. We have different, you can take your time to read that. But if you don't understand how to use the minus help, you can simply use man file. It's still going to give you a document on how file can be used. So if you go through this document, it will explain better on how you can use the command file. All right. When you're done with that, you can press your Q to go back to your terminal. Let's clear the screen. It's too bulky. Or you can simply go to your browser, go to Google. It gives more clarity because sometimes the man and the minus help do not clarify on details of how these tools have been used or these commands have been used. So if you can use Google, it explains more deeply. Now let's go back to the question. The question says, write a script that prints the type of file named I am a file, and the file is present in the temporary directory. So if you look at this task, there is no associate of flags. It's just a straight question. So that simply means the answer is file. Sorry about that. Okay, and now the next task here, we are asked to create a symbolic link to this very file and then this very file also. So how do we do that? Now, if you look at those requirements given up there, you realize that LN was part of what you're supposed to check for. And LN stands for link. Now, we've gotten the first command, which is LN, all right? The next thing here is that we are asked to create a symbolic link, not just a link. So how do you create a symbolic link? We don't know. So let's find out how to create a symbolic link. You can simply man ln, okay? Then if you look at what ln has to do, we have a lot of flags. We have the minus b, the minus d, the minus f force, I interactive, and then the rest. But since we are looking for symbolic link, let's look for where we have symbolic link. Now, of course, we can see it right here. S symbolic. So that means that our S is the value or the flag to create a symbolic link. So now we have, let's with this, we have the ln and we have the minus s. Okay. The next thing to do is to copy this. All right. And then we paste it right here, space, and then also copy this and then paste it right here. Okay. Now we've gotten our command to solve that problem for us. So we can simply now delete this and then go into the Emacs. Emacs that's supposed to be 12 or sorry 13. Emacs 13 symbolic link, enter. Then we create the code inside. And here is the code. Once you're done with that, you can simply save and exit. Okay, we're done with that very task. The next one here we have here is copy HTML files. Copy HTML files. Now, let me try to give a detailed explanation of that. In the computer system, we have what we call file extension, and file extension has to do with the values that follow a dot. For instance, you have something like file.c. This means that this file has an extension of C. If you've been taking notes, you realize that your Word document always ends with doc. Okay? So every HTML file ends with ht.html. All right? Now let's assume that let's create files with these extensions. Let me call this one. So let's just create some files for illustrative purpose. Let's say I have Dutch file one dot, let's call it html, file 2.html, file 3.html, file 4.c, file 5.c. Let's just have those let me just call that doc. Enter. Now we have those files created. Let's say I want to list. I list this and I can see that I have a lot of files in here present. .html, .c, .doc. Now I want to list only the files that contains .html. So I'll simply type lists *.html. Now if I enter, you can see that only the .html files are printed. So that's how to get only the .html files or any other file extensions you may like to copy, move, list, or whatever you want to do with it. Okay, here you are asked to create a script that copies all the HTML files. Now, first, to copy, we want to use cp, and then all HTML files I've narrated in here. So you're going to have something like cp space *.html. Okay, and then you're asked that you're supposed to copy only files that do not exist in the parent directory or newer versions of those same files. So how do you get to do that? Now that's supposed to be a flag. Anytime you see a variation of the main command, it simply means you need a flag. Okay? So let's look for the flag that will perform that function for us. So we'll simply say man cp. Okay? Now in here, you just go straight and be looking at it one after the other. Look at the flags to find out the exact one that has the value you need. Now, if you look at this, if you go down, you realize that the -u copy only when the source file is newer than the destination file or when the destination file is missing. That means it's empty. It does not exist. So that means -u is the right command, is the right flag to use. So I'll simply come back here and then I'll have cp and then -u *.html. Now you're supposed to copy this into your what parent directory, which is dot dot. That's the command. We have the command here. and then we are good to go. So simply we go to our Emacs and then 14, copy HTML, enter. You simply write the code in here, then save and exit. Let's do that very quickly. Okay, so here's the code. We'll simply save this and exit. Okay, now when you're done with that, you're supposed to grant permission to all your files. Okay, if you look at my file, you can see they're all green. That's because I've been granting permission, but I didn't show in the video. I just wanted you to think of something to do yourself. You don't expect to get all the solutions right here, but if you did not actually do that, your code will not check. And so for you to do that, you can grant permission to all the files immediately. Just do chmod u plus x, and then the first file name is 6. That's where we started from. When you're done with that, you chmod u plus x 7, tap enter. You continue till the 14th file. Now when you're done with everything, it's gonna show green. Everything's gonna change to green. That means you are correct, and then you can now do your git add dot git commit -m. You can simply use the files let's say success. All right, enter, then git push. That's all. You can simply check your codes, everything, and everything is gonna work very fine, perfectly fine. And the next thing here is um your advanced task. I'm not gonna work on this. It's very simple. You can try this yourself. If you have any problem, just contact me. I will come back to direct you or guide you on what to do. But for now, just try to see if you can solve this by yourself. Okay? Thank you very much for having me around, and see you in my next video. Bye for now.